Well, welcome everybody back to what is episode 6 of the Ramble On, and I tell you what, this is a treat. My co-host today is the original co-host, Jronc, otherwise known as James Roncon, the General Manager of ARC, who has just recovered from 5 weeks of laryngitis or whatever it is. But welcome back, James.
Thank you, Sam. Great to be back, and good to see that this program's continued in my absence too, and LDM, or Deputy Mayor Redwood, as he's otherwise known, did a sterling job. So thank you, Todd, for stepping in over that time. Greatly appreciated.
Look, it was great, and I haven't been asked by anyone, so I'll ask the question, who's my favourite co-host? And look, both of you are just excellent. And we were chatting before, we're going to be opening up some co-hosting. We're going to be looking to bring some others in, some ARC staff, maybe some notable or not so notable members of the community. But
indeed, that'd be great.
All will be unveiled. James, when Todd and I were doing this, we started some myth busting. We thought that'd just be a fun thing to do.
Indeed. And love a good myth.
Who doesn't love a myth or busting said myth? But you're the man for this myth, and I see this written on by one of our local luminaries, writes on social media. He uses the term in relation to ARC staff, because he likes to have a dig at council, but he says, it refers to Fort Rusden Street, but he says there are too many redundant upon appointment middle managers, which...
Right, that old chestnut.
Yeah, that's it's probably, it's a cheap thing. Everyone who thinks they're a bit superior likes to kick, in inverted commas, middle management, because that's where people go to die, allegedly. But do we have too many redundant upon employment? If you break that down, that means that we're already overstaffed and you're just on a power trip.
Yeah, well, I guess,
A lot to unpack there, clearly.
There's a lot to unpack there. As I said, that old chestnut, you seem to... Yeah, the favourite sport of council bashing never ceases to amaze me. But no, I like to put that kind of commentary in what I call my nuftyism bag. It's
right.
Just complete and utter rot. I mean, we are well and truly under-resourced for the works that we carry out, and certainly the budget that we manage, $106 million budget. I mean, that's
it's not to be sniffed at.
It's not to be sniffed at, and and obviously water and sewer make up about 35 to 40% of that budget as well, and then our general fund. So, we when I first joined council nearly 3 years ago, we were significantly under-resourced. We had an FTE of about a full-time equivalent of about 300. When I joined, we had about 260 staff. So, again, if you've got a full-time equivalent of 297, you've got 260 people doing all of that work continually.
Yeah.
You don't have to be smart to work out that you burn people out pretty quickly. So we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years getting our structure right, making sure that resourcing goes exactly where it needs to go. We've done that. We've recruited some wonderful people and some wonderful... So
they weren't redundant upon appointment?
They certainly weren't redundant upon appointment, and we've we've really moved into, and we're not at full capacity at the moment even. It is quite difficult to attract staff because there is a glut of work, right around the nation, and so we just got to sort of line up and take our turn and find other ways and means of being able to attract people. But no, we are doing incredibly well, got a great staff, really punching well and truly above their weight, still not at full capacity, but certainly, with the special rate variation, we said right from the beginning that our focus was going to be on infrastructure, particularly on roads, footpaths, parks and gardens and those sorts of things. So, over the past sort of probably 6 to 12 months, that's where we've focused our attention to try and grow that capability and capacity. In my view anyway, Sam, much better to grow your own resource than bringing contractors where the money ends up back in Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane or wherever else. At least if you've got your own resource, the money is circulated locally and it keeps the economy going. So that's where we're focusing.
Okay, so we'll call that myth busted. And there's a few little offshoots to it all, indoors versus outdoor staff ratios. And you're a very experienced general manager. You've been around the industry for a while. And you'd know there's actually benchmarks on how, similar sized regions are structured and staffed. Are we on par, below par, above par in terms of numbers of staff per head of population served, indoor to outdoor ratios. I haven't prepped you at all, but anything that you can just get to off the top of your head there?
Yeah, well, we're probably slightly below the industry benchmark for ratios of staff to budgets and the area.
As in we're lightly staffed.
Lightly staffed, yes, in terms of that. And I certainly do that purposely, because there is nothing worse than being overstaffed or over-resourced and wasting money on wages, and you've got nothing for people to do. So we're very, very careful about that as an exec team. But and I think your second part of that question was just
indoor to outdoor
versus
ratio.
Outdoor. Yeah, it's probably 1/3 indoor, 2/3 outdoor.
Okay.
I mean, when you factor in the water and sewer teams, parks and gardens, roads, and all the infrastructure team, it's probably a staffing group of about 200, and then the administrative component supporting that is about 100 staff.
So 1/3 indoor to 2/3 outdoor, roughly.
Yes.
Well, I'd say that's a pretty big myth shot down from what people have said, including one of our local luminaries. People have said to me, Sam, you need to get in there and sort the staffing out. You're overstaffed. Now, that's your job. Me as the mayor and as one of the councils, we only have one employee, and that's you. So if I was to sort the staffing out, we'd be saying goodbye.
We would be.
Yeah, 100% attrition.
100% attrition. Payout in 10s and 20s, please.
Okay, all right, we might skip that. All right, so that's staffing mix. Actually, can we just delve back into, just explore further contracting? So when we do use contractors, do we use them, for technical advice? So is there a degree of technical advice that we need to source but can't? Is it, roads and, construction skills? Where are we using contractors, and how do we decide what to do?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, and obviously it depends on the nature of the job. But for instance, we will often get some technical expertise in around project management, because project managers are just incredibly difficult to get. And it's not only us, it's much bigger organisations than us that are having the similar levels. So just in attracting those full-time staff to organisations. So sometimes we'll do that. Design work, for instance, we've got a significant amount of work on at the moment. We've got a small design team, but they're pushed right up against us. So sometimes we're using a couple of design firms to just design things like bridges and roads and other works that we might have on. Again, depending on the nature of the work, our guys are really good at the maintenance side of stuff, but we bring contracting teams in to do the reseal programs. Not that our team couldn't do the physical work, but we just are not geared up with the machinery that you require to be able to go through a significant resealing program. So it's sort of horses for courses, but what we try and do is wherever we can, we utilise our own resource. Where we don't have that, or it's going to be incredibly expensive to gear up to do that type of work, we'll bring in a contractor, but then we always try and put our staff with the contractor, so we're learning new skills, and then hopefully down the track, when if opportunity presents, we may be in a position where we can take that kind of work on ourselves and buy the plant, but at least we've got the staff that are ready, willing and able to perform at that level. So it's a bit of a mix, and it's but we've been growing that capability and capacity over the last couple of years as well, because it had been lost to us for a little while. So but that's the state of play.
All right, well, thanks for that. That's great to have a staff overview.
My pleasure. Thank you for the question.
Pleasure. Where to next?
I know I have been away a little bit, and I did listen with interest to the last couple of podcasts, but I guess what's been happening in your world over the last month or so, and I guess particularly we had a council meeting last night, Wednesday night, so just any highlights out of that for you? Yeah,
look, last night we had, for me, 3 things came out of that. The first one was a mayoral minute, plenty of discussion around that, but that was to do with water restrictions and when do we move to it. So, it doesn't take a genius to work out that it's pretty dry here. And
actually, as
the RFS were in talking about bushfires and everything, they were saying the ground moisture is actually drier than it was in the 2019 drought.
Wow.
So things are rough. But the paradox is that our dam storages are really healthy. So as at this week, our total dam storage was 95.6% of capacity. So we've got plenty of water sitting there.
Wow, yeah.
But you look around and things are bad. And I think
wouldn't know it.
No, you wouldn't know it. And the seasonal outlook's not that great either. And there'd been some calls in the community, and certainly as a group of councillors, we were concerned because most people can remember back to 2019 and what happened there. So the Mayoral Minute was the quickest and easiest way to make a subtle adjustment to our drought management plan. And it just referred to level 1 and level 2 water restrictions.
Yep.
And so level 1, and it was passed unanimously, level 1 will kick in. It used to be when total dam storage was at 80%. That's now going to be 90%. So we're currently at, say, 95.6 and falling. And level 2 restrictions will kick in when total dam storage is at 80%, as opposed to the old 70%. And I'd really rather be accused of going early than late.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, level 1 restrictions aren't significantly onerous. It's just probably being a bit more water aware and thinking about it. But that will help. And obviously level 2 kicks up. Level 3 and beyond that are quite onerous on the community and require some serious consultation. But levels 1 and 2, it's just about individuals monitoring their behaviour and doing the right things. So that got passed through. I have seen on social media that someone said we're already on level 1 restrictions.
Oh, already?
Already.
Yeah, right.
As you know, if people can make stuff up.
Yeah.
So someone's, heard a little bit of something in passing and decided to go on a bit of a tear. We're currently, our dam storage levels have been dropping by a bit less than 1% each week for the last little while as it's, got hotter, etc. So we're probably, without rain, which is due tonight, we'd be looking at 5 to 6 weeks before level 1 might start under this 90%. 90%. There was also another piece tacked onto that motion, and that was to explore subsidising rainwater tanks.
Good idea. Yeah,
it's about harvesting the acres of rooftop that we have. Whilst that may not change behaviour, I think it's a good thing rather than all just going down and getting flushed out the Macleay River.
Absolutely. I think, and some of the discussion last night was really interesting, and I think that probably puts the decision of council last night to go to stage 1 at 90% into stark perspective. But, previously back in 2018, 2019, it wasn't until the dam got to about 60 or 65% that all of a sudden water restrictions started to be introduced. And I think I'd like that piece in your Mayoral Minute where you said, you'd rather be accused of going too early than too late, because at least if you go early you can pull back.
That's right.
And do things a bit differently. It's way too late once the horse has bolted. So I think it was a great move. So.
And I think it's important as well that the drought management plan was something that it wasn't dreamt up on the spot. So, I wasn't here at the time, but it's something that required a lot of consultation. So a tweak to it was fine, but to rewrite the whole drought management plan, A, wasn't necessary, but B, this is a subtle thing to do. So, that was a win. So that was good. The other thing that we spoke about at the council meeting, we really adopted an item that was put up back in August and on public exhibition, and that was the Renewable Energy Community Benefit Framework.
Right, yeah.
Quite a mouthful.
Yes.
We received a fair bit of feedback from the community. A lot of that was adopted in the framework. A lot of that was incorporated into the now adopted framework. And just for listeners, the framework is about, with us hosting the renewable energy zone here, ensuring that we get a benefit from it. And we actually put we're specific. We really need we need proponents to make a contribution of at least 1.5% of capital investment value, which Todd and I spoke about it last week, which will go into a future fund to deliver intergenerational benefit. And if a project doesn't provide that 1.5%, they're not considered acting in the best interest of the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we, there's nothing we can do to stop this renewable energy zone, despite what some people think. So it's not stoppable. It's not going to deliver sunshine and lollipops that, some members of the community think it's coming. It's going to be an imposition. There are some upsides to it. This is one of these things where we can quantify the upsides. And what the framework does and the way that it's going to be spent via a future fund is ensure that that benefit is spread throughout the community, not just the local area where a project is being hosted.
Yes.
That's one of the keys, but the most important thing is intergenerational benefit. So it'll be around for long after you and I have departed.
Absolutely, great legacy. And I caught, I think, very quickly, as just a bit of a segue to this, the Central West Arana, Minister Sharp announced quite a sizable pool of money.
She did.
Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so Central West Arana Res, Minister Sharp announced $128 million to be shared amongst the councils within that renewable energy zone. That's payable over 4 years.
Right.
Now, New England, and that's coming from Energy Corporation or the state government.
Yep.
And what the renewable energy zone is quite simply is transmission lines.
Yep.
And to get a connection to the transmission lines, the new transmission lines, the 500 kilovolt ones, is effectively like winning the lottery for a renewable proponent. If they hook into that, they're made.
Done.
So in return, those renewable companies, or wind, solar, etc., have to pay a hefty connection fee and to the state government or to EnergyCo. So what EnergyCo is providing is an element of that money, and I think it's $1,700 per megawatt hour of capacity, and is to be spent in the res on amenities and those sorts of things.
Fantastic.
And around, I think it's $800 per megawatt hour per annum is to be spent on training. So there's some significant money that's going to come here. New England will probably, because it's a bigger renewable energy zone in terms of capacity, bigger than the Central West, by rights should end up with more than $128 million.
Yeah.
Now, what the state government has done is they've said, look, we need to, whilst we haven't received that money from anyone connecting because we haven't built the transmission, we need to pay it up front.
Yeah.
Because the community is going to be impacted with the construction of that transmission line.
Fantastic.
So how that money's that's not part of the future fund.
No.
That is money that the state government is providing, and I'm not sure how that's going to be split amongst the LGAs within the New England Renewable Energy Zone. But it's money that needs to be spent on amenities, and I think, if we're being realistic, the state government is going to want to be able to point at things that it's done. So I doubt it's going to be, a slight improvement. It has to be something tangible.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to want to point at something and say, hey, look what we've given you. And the easiest way for that to happen is it wasn't here before, but now our money is. Now it is.
Yeah.
So there'll be a fair bit of that. So we can expect to see some largesse flow our way. I suspect that the announcement is going to be at the back end of already at the back end of the year, but December-ish or early in the new year as to what the New England, pay it forward is going to be.
Yeah, that's great news. And I think there's really been some movement, I have to say, in that space probably over the last 6 months, certainly since the election, which has been really good.
Yeah.
And Minister Sharp, from my observations, appears to be really in tune with...
She seems on top of the brief.
On top of the brief, yeah, absolutely, and which is great for us. So, yeah. And what else has been happening in the mayoral world?
Oh, look, probably the highlight. I had my favourite ever item at the council meeting last night.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a cracker. It was to do with the keeping of animals in urban areas.
Right, yes.
We have a policy on that, and I read through it, fascinating. How many turkeys, ducks, chickens, how many pigs, based on size of it. Pigs are there, but you have to have more than 2,000 square metre lot.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know that.
You did read it.
I did. I said it's fascinating in a sort of weirdly interesting way. But what made this already fascinating policy even more interesting is that we're including tom turkeys. Now, there was something I didn't know.
Tom turkeys?
Yeah, male turkeys, the turkey equivalent of a rooster. And apparently they carry on like turkeys. No, they carry on like roosters. So tom turkeys are prohibited now.
Prohibited, right, okay.
Yeah, so it was... Anyway, they're included in there.
And that's going out on public exhibition?
It is going on public exhibition for comment. Again, it's my favourite one. I think the turkey population diminishes come Christmas time and then builds back up.
There is a tendency for that to happen, as I understand. So,
but to build back up, we do need tom turkeys. Anyway, circle of life. Not sure how that's going to work out for us.
That will be very interesting. And a couple of big events coming up over Friday and Saturday, subject to when people might be hearing this.
Yeah. Look, it might.
Pressure's on, Dane.
Might all be a bit late, but tomorrow night is the Halloween, and last year's Halloween was a cracker.
It was. Yes.
It was about 2,000 people in the mall. It was absolutely hopping, and I've had a look through the haunted house, which is the old courthouse. The team there have done a fantastic job. That genuinely is spooky.
It was. You did. Did you?
I jumped.
Got scared? You did?
Yeah, I'm easily scared.
I can't watch movies.
No, I can't. No, I can't either.
Doesn't hurt him.
No, yeah. Put a replay of Lassie on for me. So that's great. And what's more, the mall shops have really got into the spirit as well. They're sort of spooking things up.
That's great.
Our team has announced there's a bunch of vendors there, so that we're really expecting a big crowd. There's 2 kids zones, one of them in the East Mall, just so it spreads out a bit.
Yeah,
We've got
fantastic.
food and everything, and
that's great.
we had these great acts last year getting around, looking spooky, creepy, just wandering amongst the crowd. Those guys are going to be back, plus a bunch more. So it's going to be great. Looking at the weather forecast, the rain's probably going to stop about 1 p.m.
Good.
So it'll be ready to go. But that's a great lead into Saturday.
Yes. What's happening Saturday?
Saturday is the Freedom of Entry Parade. So it's the 12th, 16th Hunter River Lancers having a Freedom of Entry Parade into Armidale. It's their 75th anniversary.
Great.
And it's quite fascinating. Actually, it might be a bit more than 75th. It has to be scrap 75th, because I know they were in the First World War. Anyway.
It's old.
It's old. It's old. So they're making they're doing the Freedom of Entry. Now, I hadn't heard of this, but digging around, it goes back to sort of medieval England, and when an army would turn up at the gates of a city, this city leaders and no doubt the inhabitants were a little jumpy, and so we're recreating that. So once their bona fides checked out, then the army was allowed into the town. So in a similar-ish vein, the 12-16 Hunter River Lancers will be congregating at Curtis Park, getting together, and then they'll march into the city up Faulkner Street. The police are going to ride out and meet them, so there's some mounted police getting around.
I noticed a couple of horses this morning in town,
So it's going to be really cool. So outside the police station there on Faulkner Street, the police will challenge the army. Fingers crossed, it does get a little noisy, but it kicks off. And the army may have the firepower there, but anyway, I wouldn't underestimate the police. So after that, and assuming that the police are happy, the police will then let them through. Yeah. They'll march up Faulkner Street, then turn right into Rusden Street at the roundabout. At the roundabout, and then stop at Council, where I come out and give a chat, welcome them to the city, and then I get to go and inspect the parade.
Right. Now, is there like a power of veto that you have? If you're not happy with the way they look, can you stop them? Or?
I probably could, but I reckon exercising that would be fairly difficult.
Yeah. Right.
I'm also acutely aware of the hypocrisy that would be there. Looking at my boots relative to theirs. So tonight and tomorrow night, I'm going to be out there with the brush and spit polishing my shiniest of shoes.
I'm gleaning from how you've described that the crowd must follow essentially the army. Do they through the streets?
I guess so. Yes, they would. And look, it depends how many people turn up, but it'll be a fantastic...
It sounds like it's going to be a cracking night.
It will be, and I drove past Curtis Park this morning and they were setting up probably for a bit of a wet night tonight. So hopefully the community's there, and yes, you follow the army up and then stop at Council, then around the corner into Central Park, and they're putting on a barbecue.
The thing that always interests me about these formal events that you're involved in is, I think this is the right term, the regalia or the gear that you get in. What's Saturday look like for you in that respect?
Oh, yeah, this is a tough one. As you know, I've tried to duck and weave wearing the mayoral robes, and I was going to say tricked into it. I actually got bullied into wearing them for the first time when we gave the keys to the city to Tony Deacon.
But it did make a lovely photo.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. Yes, it did. The Armidale, and maybe this is a version of council treason here, but I reckon the Armidale mayor's robes look like you're auditioning for a part in Harry Potter.
Right.
So they're royal blue with little lightning bolts of silver, or at least I think they're lightning bolts of silver. On the plus side, and I have seen Russell Webb from Tamworth in his robes. He came out to open the Country Music Festival last year, and I thought he was just in fancy dress, and then I realised it was the robes. His are red, and he's got one of those ruffles around his neck. Yeah, you don't want that. So small mercies there, but yes, James, I will have to wear the robes and the chains. Okay. So,
well, if you could remodel them, what would you go for?
I reckon a cape.
A cape.
A cape and a cravat.
Done.
We need to restore the cravat to its rightful place in fashion. And as I say, not all heroes wear capes, but but
that would look really good. So that sounds like an action-packed weekend. Is that where the weekend finishes?
No fear, because last Sunday of the month. Well, that means it's markets in the mall.
Markets, yes.
Yeah, so it'll be great.
Yeah, well, that's a great time of the year too, when you can get out into the mall. It's all, apart from the weather, tomorrow night's probably not going to be the greatest.
No, it's going to be brilliant.
The rain holds
It's just going
off.
to be cold and
it'll be
cold and windy.
It'll be fantastic. But it's a nice time of the year to be out and about in the mall and in that general CBD precinct.
And I noticed the mall's just so much busier now too.
It is, yeah. Someone was saying last night just most of the shops are now occupied as well.
They have been for a long time.
Which is just great. And, because we often hear that it's council's fault for whatever reason that's not the case. But, no, it is nice to see them. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were going to say?
Oh, no, I was just going to give a plug to the Christmas party or the Christmas in the mall.
Oh, yes.
So
we got a date?
I think we do. Can't remember what it is.
1st of December, probably.
That's only a few,
month
perhaps.
or so away. 6 weeks, yeah.
And then there'll be also a big Christmas party up at Guyra.
Yes.
And the reindeers are back, I hear.
The reindeers are back.
Actually, they'd have to be, otherwise Santa couldn't get here, could he?
No.
Because it's now illegal with the RSPCA to tame and truss up a boomer to pull your sleigh, despite what Rolf Harris sang about. Anyway, we're straying on to dangerous territory here.
Yeah. No, but, well, look, it sounds like it's been a pretty action-packed month.
Yeah, look, Armidale's where you need to be, and Todd and I mentioned this the other day, but we won't have another podcast coming out. A real boon for the town is next weekend is WEMBO, which is the World Endurance Mountain Biking Organisation.
Get around that.
Yeah, it's huge. I was speaking with Steve McMillan this morning, and we've got people coming from the US, Canada, New Zealand, out of Europe. So some of the world's best mountain bikers. It's a 24-hour solo race.
That would be good to at least watch part of that.
And they're coming up here from this weekend to do a bit of training. So we're going to see some freakily fit people strutting. I imagine you'd strut if you were that fit, wouldn't you? You wouldn't mooch or mosey.
No, you would almost
strut.
Perhaps walk on
water.
Air. Yeah. And I mean, not to be sneezed at, the fact that kind of event brings some real good coin into the region as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cheap. It's not a cheap exercise, not a cheap sport, and great. Do we know what the numbers are?
No, they haven't finalised them yet. But it's a mark that we are a bit of a cycling region.
Indeed, yeah.
And one of those things that I'm really keen to do is continue that, as you well know. If we could, I mentioned this the other day, turn the great tinderbox that is the pine forest into, just get that back to world class, and mountain bike trail as well. And the great thing about a mountain bike trail is it's not just for the elites. Like, you can ride it like you Miss Daisy, if you like.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much how I ride the UNE.
Well, I was trying to make you feel included.
Thank you. Yeah, I very slowly.
Well, you're better than me. I've only done it once, but that mountain biking, the looming rail trail, all of these things is just really going to put us on the map.
Yeah, no, it's exciting times to be in this region.
Yeah. Well, James, we've hit half an hour. I reckon we should wrap it up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very nice to be back doing this.
Great to have you back.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you. See you.